In the story, we talk a lot about how smaller news organizations, especially local newspapers, have been dwindling in number year after year. It's no secret that rural areas have been hardest hit by those closures, often having to rely on outlets in larger cities that don't often cover those smaller communities. But there's one Eastern Oregon publication that's bucking that trend, and it's one we've featured here on the show before. Thomas Schultz has the story.
If you follow the Oregon Trail, you'll come across Vail, the first stop in Oregon settlers reached in 1811. And near the heart of downtown is the Malheur Enterprise, a county newspaper over a century old.
1931, I think we got some back to the 20s.
With archives
See how far back these go.
that stretch way back.
Obviously, getting to be 100 years old, that paper's pretty fragile. So
Fragile.
Yep.
Like the newspaper business.
What's the major story? A woman from Idaho disappeared north of Jordan Valley last summer.
Since 2005, the New York Times says a quarter of newspapers have closed nationwide. 2,500 overall. Closures are more common in high poverty areas.
Malheur County is one of the poorest counties in Oregon. Malheur County is literally in a different time zone from the rest of the state. I mean, we have a number of things going against us here in Malheur County and at the Malheur Enterprise.
Instead, it's a much different story.
We are interested in representing the average person in Malheur County. Yes.
Les Zaitz is the owner and editor. He took over the paper in 2015 and transformed operations.
We've used the Enterprise as a bit of a journalism laboratory.
By focusing on digital growth and tinkering with the paper's coverage of a county that's larger than 9 states, they also asked the questions others weren't.
We questioned budgets, we questioned decisions, we questioned policies.
They specialize in investigative reporting and ask for information government agencies aren't always thrilled to unveil.
A lot of public agencies here had never seen a public records request before the Enterprise turned around.
Readers noticed the change. Journalism institutes did too.
Yeah.
And the Enterprise has won
Scripps Howard.
dozens of recent awards.
We've been awarded a number of other awards. In 2017, Investigative Reporters and Editors, a national association.
Many thanks to investigative pieces.
The first ever Freedom of Information Award to a weekly newspaper and gave it to the Malheur Enterprise.
And recently, they won a national award from the Poynter Institute, beating out the Washington Post for an investigation into a rail station project.
And the winner is the staff of the Malheur Enterprise of Vail, Oregon. The judges called this a fantastic example of a small paper doing big work to affect real change in the local community.
I mean, that's a pretty good day at the office.
The paper reported on the project for years.
Yeah.
Reporters found the project, meant to help farmers export their crops, was hindered by county money mismanagement and delays. Throughout the reporting, they fought county government secrecy and eventually sued to enforce state public records laws.
Ooh, yeah, it's kind of a big deal. It takes a big investment.
For 8 years, Pat Caldwell's reported for the Enterprise, spending much of that time digging into the rail station.
Yeah, God, now that I think about it, that's a long time.
When Caldwell joined the Enterprise, he was already a 15-year industry vet.
I didn't quite understand what I was getting into. I thought I was pretty good. Then I came here, and then under Lesson Scott, I learned that, no, I have a lot more to learn.
The story will pretty much write itself.
More to learn under the tutelage of Zaitz, who was an investigative reporter for the Oregonian for 25 years. Though his time as a scribe dates back even further.
You know, my first published byline was when I was in the 6th grade, and I did a history piece for the Old Kaiser News.
And after more than 50 years in journalism,
I frankly feel, as sort of a senior journalist in Oregon, that I have a responsibility to help journalists and journalistic organizations restore the trust of Oregonians and the American people in the press.
And in Vail.
And this is a very, right-wing Republican area.
They've done that.
At a time when circulation is going down across the country, our circulation was going up.
They believe their success means other publications can make a comeback too.
And that's a huge statement. And yes, I get it. I understand it's a huge statement. And but we've backed it up.
To restore newspapers to small communities nationwide.
We shouldn't have succeeded. We should not have succeeded, but we did.
In Vail, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.